I'm going to go through 16, more like 18 or 20 because I've grouped some together, but roughly 16 different items that I think people should have on hand if there's a threat that riots could erupt, that social unrest is brewing, or that peaceful protests could turn violent. This is a video that's going to be particularly important for people that live in or travel through urban centers. Now, the thing with riots and social unrest in urban centers that makes it particularly dangerous is that they really are unpredictable and you never know how they're going to turn out. Things can turn around on a dime. Crowds freak out, people freak out, violence erupts, and you just don't know what's going to happen. You wouldn't have to necessarily have all of these items on hand, but these are items that you could at least consider for an urban bug-out bag, or if you live in a city or again are traveling through a city for work or what have you. These are items that you could keep in your vehicle just in case, and they would help you either avoid or go through a riot. And this video would also be informative for people who attend protests that could turn violent, or members of the media that report on riots. So I would recommend watching my last video because this video kind of dovetails with that one. 9 signs that civil unrest could erupt in the US. Bonus, at the end of the video, I'm going to give you 8 riot survival strategies, or 8 riot hacks, if you will, that you can use or at least keep in mind if you find yourself in a urban unrest environment, so that you can hopefully escape that unharmed. Now we're going to start off with your feet, because in a riot or urban unrest situation, as I mentioned, things on the ground can change quite quickly, and you need to be able to be fast on your feet. However, you don't necessarily want sneakers. You need to protect your feet as well, because there's going to be a lot of debris. Things can be slippery. Think of like water cannons, or Molotov cocktails can even be thrown. And you basically want to protect your feet while also being agile. So a lightweight hiking boot, such as something like this, these Danners would work. Good ankle support, you know, if you're pivoting on your feet and turning direction quickly, jumping over things, etc. These are lightweight, but you wouldn't want to go anything heavier than this, anything more sturdy than that, because then that's going to start impeding your agility and your ability to basically move quickly on your feet. So, maybe a trail running sneaker or something like that would work well. A lot of these items you probably have already. The ones that you don't, most of these items are low cost, and actually the last item that I mentioned on this list is actually entirely free. Now, the second thing that you're going to need is a bag to carry it all. And if you want to carry everything that I mentioned here, you're going to need a bag probably like this size, maybe a little bit smaller. The problem with this is that it adds a lot of size to your body. And you can get jerked around on this thing. This has a lot of straps that people could pull on. But something like this would work well if you wanted to just keep it in your vehicle and have a bag ready to go, an urban bug-out bag, an urban get-home bag with riot-type gear in there as well. And I know that probably there are going to be some people who may be intent on attending a riot, taking part in a riot, that might be watching this video. Not necessarily something I would recommend. However, if that's you, then a lot of the things that I will mention here will probably already be on your person, and then you don't need a bag this big, and you could get by with something smaller like a school bag or a cross-body sling. So the next thing you want to consider is your clothing. You want to have the right apparel. And this is kind of like shoes. You want the sort of the Goldilocks of clothes. You want something that's going to protect your legs and your arms, so pants and a full-length sleeve. However, you don't want to hinder your mobility. Generally speaking, you don't want to wear anything that screams protester, okay? You just apply the gray man concept. You want to blend in with the general population of city dwellers who are going about their business on the street. You likely do not want to wear black items, or at least many black items together. The reason for that is a lot of protests, people that are organizing protests and riots, they will dress entirely in black. Black pants, shirt, goggles, helmet, mask, backpack, everything. And what that does is this creates what they call a black bloc. And they appear as one unified mass. It's harder for the police and opposition parties to identify them, to dox them. So you don't want to get grouped up with them because that can be a dangerous situation. So avoid all black. That said, if you are taking part in a riot, it may be advantageous for you to wear all black for that very reason. It's harder to identify you when you're, doing things in a riot that you probably shouldn't be doing. One pair of pants that I like are these hiking pants that zip into shorts. So I can unzip these. I don't even need to take my shoes off to do that because this zips up and I can unzip it off on the fly and take it off and toss the bottoms if I needed to, if I expose them to tear gas or pepper spray or what have you. Another good idea is to buy what's called a stasher jacket. This is popular in hiking communities. It's just basically a lightweight, cheap raincoat that you can throw on. Great for water cannons or the pepper spray mace environment. If you were subject to that, it offers some protection. You could just take it off and then throw it out and you're not really out of much. One thing I would note for women when it comes to your hair, you probably don't want ponytails because those can be grabbed and used to pull you around. So here's one little off the wall idea is to buy a cheap high visibility vest such as something like this. Actually, Vice News had an article about this. People can get by with more than you would expect when they put one of these vests on. They followed a couple guys who sort of as a prank, as a joke, just to test the idea, wore these and went and tested to see if they could get into zoos, which they did, concerts, etc. Oftentimes people just gave them no mind, assuming they were workers affiliated with the building or the service that was, going on. So something to keep in mind. It could aid your escape. Now, if that sort of disguise idea appeals to you, another idea is to have a shirt or a Velcro sticker like this that says press. The police aren't necessarily going to treat you any better, but they may just avoid you a little bit more if you have this on and you're just intentionally making it obvious that you're trying to avoid any conflict. That's an idea as well. Now, the next thing you need to think about is head protection. Riots are known for people throwing bricks and bottles and police firing rubber bullets. The last thing you want to worry about is getting struck on the head during a riot, getting knocked unconscious, getting some traumatic brain injury. One of my favorite things that I would use in a riot situation to have in my vehicle or in my pack is just a straight up normal bicycle helmet. A lot of ventilation here. It's going to offer some protection, a fair amount of protection really. Whether it takes a pipe to the head and when people are swinging pipes or boards or that sort of thing, I don't know, but I know that it's going to be better than nothing. The best thing about this is that one, a lot of people already have them, and two, this appears very normal in any sort of urban environment. Another option might be a climbing helmet. Ventilation as well, offers more solid protection, I think, than the bicycle helmet because it's designed for a fall. And then another option, and these are widely available and relatively cheap, is just a normal construction helmet. And you can buy these used on eBay, very cheap, they'll cinch up. And then if you had these, then you could double it with this, and you can see where I'm going with that. Now moving down from the head and helmet, we're going to the eyes, and having eye protection is also very important, both for pepper spray and mace, but also just flying debris material. These are just general, contractor type, well, this is a Smith & Wesson shooting glasses, but still protective glasses. I like this sort of amber color for shooting, but it sharpens things up, at least for me, so I can see a little bit better when I'm outside. If it's bright, then just my generic prescription sunglasses are going to offer some protection as well. And now moving down from the eyes, you need something to protect your mouth, your airway, your lungs. Pepper spray, mace, if you get hit with those things, it's gonna compromise your breathing, it's gonna be burning in your lungs, making everything very difficult for you to operate in a dangerous environment and to escape to safety. The cheapest, most realistic option that most people probably still have from the mandate days is just a N95 mask. What's good about these, besides the fact that most of us probably already still have some, is that they're cheap and you could buy a bundle of these and hand them out to family, friends, even strangers that needed them for help. And they also offer some identity protections. You don't want your face on the cover of the New York Times riot in Manhattan. If stepping up from that, you can use a typical sort of construction type respirator. This is going to offer a lot better protection than the N95 mask, particularly if there's burning, smoke, cars are, flipped over and on fire. Not uncommon for full buildings to be set on fire in a riot. The better option is going to be a full gas mask with filter. And a lot of people don't like these because they put them on and they feel claustrophobic. That's true of this Israeli style gas mask. You put this thing on and you put your filter on, and it does feel claustrophobic if you're not accustomed to wearing these. It does offer eye protection, but it's limited eye protection. It's going to compromise your field of view and your ability to sort of navigate, particularly in a smoky environment. A better option is going to be the mirror safety mask. I like this mask. It's full face protection. You're protecting your eyes. You've got a full seal here. The filter comes on here. You can put a double filter on this one as well if you needed to, and you can attach water to this, etc. This is just a great mask all the way around. More pricey, of course, but the good thing is that this is standard NATO threading on both of these. So if you had this mask, you can still buy mirror safety filters and screw it on here. You can also see my interview with the founder of Mirror Safety at SHOT Show when I was just, interviewing different vendors with their different prepper type products. If you want an idea on what the effects of pepper spray might look like, you can see my other video on me versus pepper grenade, where I test a pava powder pepper grenade. And for that matter, I also have a video testing this particular mask with this filter against a pepper grenade as well, and against a smoke grenade. The next piece of protection that you're going to need would be for your ears, because not only are police using tear gas and pepper spray and water cannons to disperse crowds, but they're also using sound deterrent devices. And these emit a sound that is beyond the threshold for human pain when it comes to sound. If you're on the receiving end of this sound device, it's really disorienting and painful, and you'll have no choice but to get out of the way of that if you can. And it may be difficult to get out of the way of that if you're crammed in a crowd. Now, an example of this device would be the long-range acoustic device called the LRAD. That's probably the most well-known sound deterrent. It's a directional device, so police can target specific areas of the crowd. The other one is the acoustic hailing device, and that works in a similar fashion. They're less intense than the LRADs, but they can also be used as communication device. Think of it kind of like as a megaphone on steroids. So having some gun range worthy ear protection is going to be worthwhile. Basic, cheap hearing protection like this is also going to offer some hard protection to your ears for blows to the head and that sort of thing. If you wanted to step it up from here, then you could go to the more robust mil-spec hearing protection. But for most people, it's probably going to be fine to have the much cheaper buy in bulk squishy earplugs that a lot of people use, and that's not going to take up as much space in your vehicle or in your urban bugger bag or Riot Bag as it may be. Next is going to be some type of hand protection. There's going to be sharp objects, likely broken glass, etc. around you. You could be scaling a fence to escape. If you find yourself in an unfortunate melee situation, having gloves is going to be helpful there. Grabbing hot objects if you need to do that, and even if you have to administer some medical care, if somebody's bleeding out, this is going to offer some protection for you as well. Basic construction gloves, thin construction gloves such as this would work fine. Cheap, readily available, you probably already have some. You want to make sure that the gloves have dexterity, that they allow you to maintain your dexterity, however. And if you go with construction gloves such as this, you've got your construction glasses, you've got your construction helmet, and you've got your high visibility vest. You are going to, and combine that, I should say, with some boots such as this. You look like a construction worker who, is not going to be assumed to be taking part in the mayhem. I like these cheap gloves that I bought. I mean, it's not something I would want to use on a regular basis if I was on a mission in Afghanistan, for example, but short of that, just to have in a bag, they work great. They've got hard knuckle protection here if you are in a melee situation. Check the description if you want any of these items. I'll have links in the description so you can just click away and explore these products a little bit further. The next item that you need is bottled water. The obvious need for this is that you want to stay hydrated so you don't get delirious in some hot urban environment where there's just total chaos going on. But the other reason that you need this is for flushing eyes out should they be exposed to pepper spray or mace. You might need to help somebody get the irritants out of their eyes, or you might need somebody else to use your water to flush the irritants out of your eyes. 3-step process on how to do that, because I have some experience with this, not as a predator. But the first step is to not make it worse. And so everyone's natural reaction is to like rub your eyes, and that's gonna make it actually worse because you're spreading the irritants around your eye. If you've got it on your hands, you're getting it in there and just making it worse. So you wanna avoid that if you can and help other people avoid that. The second thing is you gotta flush those eyes next. And if you have contacts in or somebody's wearing contacts, you need to get the contacts out because that's going to trap the irritant and make the whole situation a lot worse. Take them out, throw them out. If you've got a squirt bottle, squirting it lightly, that's even better. Once you've flushed the eyes, the next thing you want to do is actually wash around the face. And you want to, when you do that, you want, some sort of bandana, shirt that you've taken off or something, cover the forehead so that when you're cleaning the face, the water doesn't go back down into the eyes. Then you have to start all over again. Next on the list is going to be a medical kit, a first aid kit of some type. This is an IFAC, an individual first aid kit. Riots are known for injuries. People break bones, people sprain ankles. You need to be able to stop a bleed, reduce swelling, flush eyes, etc. A basic kit should be fine. No need for advanced equipment unless you know how to use it. But those are great because, in a significant urban unrest environment, police are going to be busy, ambulances are going to be busy, 911 is not going to come. You may have to work with what you have. One thing or two things I might add to that is a quick clot, great product for stopping bleeds quickly, and also a basic SAM splint because a lot of people are going to be running, a lot of people are going to be jumping. It's going to be stampedes, etc. So sprains are going to be probable in most cases. Next, what you're going to need, and again, if you have an urban bug out bag, get home bag, you likely already have this, so you should have this, is going to be a map of the city. I like this map because it's plastic. It's going to be protected from rain and the elements. It folds up easily. It's got a very detailed layout of all the streets. This is going to be particularly important because urban unrest environments change quickly. There can be roadblocks, detours. You could be going down one street seeking safety and suddenly you encounter chaos in the other block, and you need to be able to adapt quickly with the ever-changing environment. And a map is going to help you do that. It's going to help you identify areas where you can get around things and even identify safety zones. Government buildings, for example, may or may not be a safe zone that you can get to. Cell phone is also going to be an option for you, and if you're relying on a cell phone, then I would make sure that you take screenshots of the map of your city or download it if you can so you have it offline on your phone. On that note, I also really like a handheld GPS. A lot of preppers will balk at this because it's technology reliant, but for me, these are great despite being reliant on satellites. But if I need to move from point A to point B, whether it's in the forest or in a city, I can do that much quicker with a handheld GPS than I could ever do that with a map, or even in the forest with a map and compass. Next up, also an item you probably have in an urban bag is just going to be a general multi-tool. This is a Leatherman Wave Plus. Pick the brand that works for you. This is great for all of the unexpected things that you might encounter. Screwdrivers, pliers, needle nose pliers, wire cutters, etc. And you can use the scissors in here to cut gauze, to cut bandages, to cut clothes off, to treat wounds. Even the knife, honestly, could be used as a self-defense weapon if it really came to that. So great tool to have. A lot of people have them already, have one in your vehicle, in your bag. However, a knife is not going to be the ideal self-defense weapon in an urban environment. Most people are going to gravitate toward a compact or subcompact handgun. Certainly an option. However, you need to be mindful of the laws in your city. Cities have pretty strict laws on firearms. And if you are in an urban environment where there's a riot going on and mass arrests, probably the last thing you want to have on you is a handgun that violates city law. The judge is not going to look favorably on that. So you need to use your judgment there. If you want to get an idea on how crazy some of the urban firearms laws can be, check out my video that I shot in Manhattan, no pun intended, on New York City gun laws. It's wild. But moving away from firearms, the most simple thing is actually going to be a whistle. They're cheap. They come on a lanyard, and you can get them that doesn't have a little bead in the center that usually doesn't work when it's wet. Not really self-defense per se, other than you can alert others to something that's going on. Whether that works or not in an urban environment where there's total chaos, people may not really pay attention to that, but something to consider just the same. Tactical flashlight is another option. Very, very bright. You can temporarily blind somebody. And of course, the other advantage to this is that if it's at night, then it also serves as a light to light your way. On that subject, I would recommend having a headlamp so you can move hands-free. But the other advantage to these is that these often come with a serrated type edge here that can be used for, grinding somebody's face out. And it's just, I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of that. They're heavy and they can be used that way. Pepper spray is probably going to be everywhere anyway, but if you've got some of this, you can spray people, and people don't want to come near you if you're spraying this stuff because it's painful. Another option is just the standard stun gun. This will level somebody up close. Hit somebody with this on their leg and boom, down they go. Cheap, rechargeable, also comes with a little light on here. One thing I would note that most people would not assume to be a weapon is just a tactical pen. This one is from Olight. It comes with a little light on it. It functions as a pen, but it also has tactical features. It's hard point. If you're in a tight person-to-person, shoulder-to-shoulder environment and you're trying to get out, here's a little trick. You just take your pen, and it can work with a pencil or anything like that as well. And you just put it between somebody's ribs as you're trying to go through, and I guarantee you, they will move. Communications would be next, and for most people, that's going to be their cell phone. I'm using mine to record this video, and that's a big advantage to having a cell phone in a riot, is that you can capture acts of violence. So if somebody's beating somebody down, you can videotape that and use that to give to authorities later on. If somebody's looting a store, you can use it to capture that. A better option would be a handheld radio, ham radio, the Baofeng, for example, assuming you have a license to use it, but in an emergency, go ahead and use it anyway. It does take it's a little bit of a learning curve here, so you need to know how to use it. A limited range in an urban environment. The good news is that you can, for not much money, you can buy a much bigger antenna. This unscrews, pop in this one, and you're gonna get a heck of a lot better range on this. I'd highly recommend this antenna. Don't buy just this ham radio without buying the extra antenna. The other advantage to these is that they can be used as scanners. So if you want to hear what, assuming they're not encrypted, what police are doing, what emergency services are doing, you can pre-program this so that you can use it as a scanner, and even your phone can be used that if you download the right software. The disadvantage to having your phone in an urban environment is going to be your electronic signature. It's not uncommon for police after the fact to get digital records of people that were at riot scenes or any sort of crime, really, to know who was where, doing what, when. And your cell phone is leaving a digital signature everywhere you go. One option that you might want to consider is a Faraday cage, a Faraday shield, a phone shield, if you will. This one's from Mission Darkness. Again, I'll put a link in the description. This is a great device for something like that because if you turn your cell phone off, that's not going to be enough. You can turn your cell phone off and put it in this bag, and it's not going to get frequency. So your digital footprint is essentially vanished in that case, and it's going to offer you some anonymity and digital footprint protection. Cash and ID, and I preface that with a big maybe. Same with your phone. Your credit card, if you need to buy something, is going to leave a digital record of where you were and where you used it. You may not want that. So having cash on hand is never a bad idea, in my opinion. Having ID could be a bad idea. Let's say you dropped your wallet in a riot and somebody picked it up, or the police found it, they could see your ID and they may make the assumption then that you were involved in the riot. However, if you are swept up in a mass arrest, having your ID on you could speed up your release. If you get caught up in a mass arrest and you don't have your ID, you're going to be at the police station a lot longer than anyone else would. So your decision there. All right, as promised, 8 strategies, 8 riot hacks to help you survive such a situation. The first is going to be avoiding dangerous areas. And depending on what the riot is, that may mean government buildings, police stations, city halls, etc. Major intersections are also going to be a hot spot because that's where riots usually converge. The streets will come together, or rioters will try to shut down traffic, and they will look for those intersections where a lot of vehicles are moving through. The next one is going to be probably a little bit obvious, but that's avoiding large chaotic crowds. You don't want to get swept up in a crowd. You want to stay on the outskirts at a minimum, because if you get these crowds, people freak, and the environment changes very quickly. People can be going in one direction and then they encounter something that you may not even see. Suddenly it's coming backwards and you're trying to get through that crowd or out of that crowd. Better to just avoid the crowd as much as you can from the get-go. Now, if you are unfortunately caught up in a crowd, you need to get through and it's forming up into a stampede, the best thing you can do is to actually run diagonally through the crowd. Don't run with the crowd or against the crowd. Run diagonally through it. And if you've got your pack, a pack like this or something like that, make your presence bigger. You can hug it as you run diagonally. This could give you a bigger presence. Likewise, if you're with family, friends, loved ones, link arms. That's going to help as well. Fourth tip is to avoid kettling, and that's when police slowly begin to surround a crowd. They kind of surround the crowd on all sides, and then they come in on them. So you want to pay attention, if you're in the crowd, to what's happening around the edges of the crowd. And if you see that formation starting to happen, you want to get out of there as quickly as you can. The next thing you want to do is avoid confrontations at all costs. These are very tense, stressful environments, and people are ready to rumble. So if you're interacting with someone, you're exchanging viewpoints, political viewpoints, if you're taking part in this protest, you got to be very careful. You need to be reading people's moods, because they may be really pissed off and they may take it out on you. So, the best thing to do is just to avoid that confrontation altogether. I don't care how many black belts you have, how many marksmanship badges you have. If you can avoid a confrontation entirely, then you have a 100% chance of not getting hurt. If you find yourself in a confrontational situation, then you run the risk of being physically hurt. Next is going to be identifying safe zones, like maybe a friend's apartment, for example, somewhere nearby that you can go to escape the chaos until the chaos subsides. Avoid luxury chain stores of any kind, because those are going to be the first places to be looted. Next one, and I don't care if you're a protester, just don't argue with the cops. They're there to do a job. They don't care about the issues. They've got to make sure people are safe. They're stressed out as well. Everyone's on edge. Do what they tell you to do. If they tell you to move, say, I'm moving, and actually move away. Last, and this dovetails with situational awareness, just stay aware. And as you stay aware, always be identifying, surveying the area for escape routes. If something went down, if things suddenly turned right now, where are you going to go? You're going to go down that alleyway, you're going to go over there, you're going to go up the stairs on the ladder escape, fire escape. I don't know. It's going to change depending on the environment, but always have that in the back of your head. Where am I going to go to if things suddenly change right now? So, thanks for watching the video. I hope this information was helpful. Bookmark it, save it, send it to a friend that lives in an urban environment where this might pertain to them. I mean, we've got another election coming up. You just never know what people are going to do. Things change in urban environments so quickly. They're just dangerous places to live when tensions are hot.